Hello, this is Parklife with the Gloucestershire Election Roundup special. I'm Kieran Phillips.
And I'm Meg Jones.
Now, today's the day after a dramatic night before. It took 8 hours and many recounts before Cheltenham could announce who was to be the town's MP.
And across...
I give public notice that Alexander John Gervais, commonly known as Alex Chalk, is duly elected as a Member of Parliament.
And across the whole of Gloucestershire, the political map has been painted blue as the Conservatives reclaim Stroud from Labour.
It was a day of tactics and tension as people headed to the polls to have their say.
But what were they voting about? Our first report from George Gwilym comes from Cheltenham as voters went to the polls on election day.
No one was going to rain on the parade of voters in Cheltenham. People from around the town came out in their droves to make their choice at the ballot box. There was a mix of first-time voters and election veterans, and everyone had their own opinions on who should be leading the country.
I'm 82 years of age and I voted many times, and I voted for most parties in my time. But I certainly had no faith whatsoever in Jeremy Corbyn or the Liberal Democrats, which really only leads me to vote for Boris. And I'd like to give him the opportunity of removing us from this political consortium over which we have no control.
I've always voted, yes. I think it's important to vote. So I've held my nose and voted Conservative, much against my better judgment, I have to say.
Austerity, climate change, getting Boris Johnson out.
Those are the issues people have been considering when they put an X in the box. They won't have long to wait for the result, and they say every dog has its day, and it seems as though today may be Boris Johnson's.
Now, it was a long and dramatic night for candidates, the counters and the commentators everywhere. At Cheltenham's Leisure Centre, it was almost breakfast time before the results were declared.
Our team of Lou De Freitas and Paul Sutton were there through recounts, a fire alarm, and the slimmest of victories for the Conservatives. Amy Owen reports.
Ballot boxes were opened and the count began. And if the closed count wasn't pressure enough, then the fire alarm certainly got people moving.
Don't forget your pass.
Our political reporter Paul Sutton was there to cover the event.
The campaign has been a tough one so far between the Liberal Democrats and the Conservatives, with local issues remaining a fracture between the two sides, the likes of Boots Corner, the road between the middle of the High Street, and Brexit, of course. Cheltenham voted 56% to remain, and it continues to be a hot topic.
As the evening went on, tension rose for the Lib Dem candidate Max Wilkinson and sitting MP for the Conservative Party Alex Chalk, with the energy coming to a stop for Labour candidate George Penny. After a close call and a recount, a clear winner was announced with nearly 1,000 votes between the two parties.
Therefore, I give public notice that Alexander John Gervais, commonly known as Alex Chalk, is duly elected as a Member of Parliament.
Carrying on campaigning in Cheltenham, the things that matter to local people, the things that I've campaigned on in this election, and leading up to it, things like the environmental emergency, making sure that we're investing enough money in houses for young people and families, and much more besides too.
The impact on me is irrelevant, really. I want to pay tribute to the other candidates who fought hard campaigns and were clearly incredibly able people with strong futures ahead of them. And I know this is tough. Anyone who puts himself up for this, it's a tough, bruising, grueling experience. I pay tribute to them. And I also wanted to rededicate myself to the service of people from wherever they come in Cheltenham, whatever their political beliefs. I will do my best to stand up for them to the best of my ability.
Amy Owen, Parklife News, Cheltenham.
Earlier in the night, Gloucester, Tewkesbury, the Cotswolds and Forest of Dean had all declared their results, and the final Gloucestershire seat of Stroud made it 6 out of 6 for the Conservatives, overturning the previous Labour majority. I was there to see the drama unfold. It was tense throughout the night and counting was very close, but when the returning officer took the stage to announce the result, it was clear Labour's David Drew had lost his seat.
Part and parcel of everything. I think clear messaging helps, which is what we've been able to offer. Labour has been in a complete pickle. You've seen that with their Brexit position. They've got some really difficult issues going on in their own party and anti-Semitism, so I don't think that helps them. But yeah, clear message, a very energetic, charismatic leader, a very energetic local candidate from me and my team are absolutely brilliant and wonderful.
Over at Gloucester, everything was as expected, with the Conservative's Richard Graham holding onto his seat that he first won nearly 10 years ago. But rather than a round of drinks to celebrate a long night, it was just a coffees all round.
Now, Meg, that must have been an exhausting night for you.
Yes, it was. I'm still hanging in there after a couple hours of sleep. Think I might make it through the bulletin.
So now the Conservatives are back in government with a huge majority of 79. Boris Johnson says he wants to unite the country and, in his words, get Brexit done.
Jeremy Corbyn said it had been a very disappointing night as he announced plans to step down as the Labour leader.
The Lib Dem leader, Jo Swinson, has already resigned after losing her seat. But we want to know, what do you think about this political tidal wave?
Denise Clark has been following your views on social media.
There's plenty of chat about the Cheltenham election result on Twitter today. Self-proclaimed left-handed Tory monarchist and Brexiteer David Beeham from Gloucester is glad about the result after being quietly confident of a majority. While Kinky, who lives in Cheltenham, says he's in mourning about the thought of a Conservative government, saying it's worse than when he woke up from the results of Brexit or Trump. While Matthew from Tewkesbury says he's a strong supporter of Labour and is left wondering how people can vote for him, meaning Boris Johnson. And James from Stroud said her blood boiled when she heard that the town turned blue. Finally, Max Wilkinson, the losing Lib Dem candidate in Cheltenham, thanked his followers for their love and kindness, but says it's time to rest now. And we'd agree with that.
Now, this time yesterday, we had no idea about how the voting would go. We've had a few hours to digest the significance of the result nationally and locally, and we're joined now by our political correspondent, Phoebe Sargison-Jones, to try and make sense of it all. Now, Phoebe, I think we're all a little bit shocked about how it went. How did Boris Johnson manage to win it so convincingly?
So Boris Johnson used his strong manifesto to win over voters, especially those who felt disillusioned by Corbyn's message. He swept a lot of them up with his talk of Brexit, because of course that is a very big issue, and it affects a lot of people, especially those who weren't convinced by the Labour Party's stance on Brexit.
And it was pretty tight here in Cheltenham. How do you think Alex Chalk's crawled it back to win?
So Alex Chalk has been very successful with tackling issues in Cheltenham, from Boots Corner to the new tech park. It was a marginal victory, only under 1,000 votes, and it seems that Cheltenham wasn't prepared for a change with Max Wilkinson for the Liberal Democrats, despite a very well-run campaign by them.
And of course you were actually at the Gloucester count, so what did you make of that?
So it was speculated that Richard Graham of the Conservative Party would keep his seat, and it was a landslide victory for him. 29,000 votes for the Conservatives, showing that the other candidates really did not stand a chance.
What do you think Labour will be making of this loss in Stroud and nationally?
So David Drew definitely suffered due to the national campaign by the Labour Party. There was some challenge from the Greens locally, and that may have split the vote for the Remainers. It was always going to be tight, but I think it was a shock for some constituents.
For some of us here at Parklife, it's been the first time we've been able to vote in a general election. But for all of us, it's been the first time we've ever covered one.
We sent all our journalists to different parts of the county to report our live overnight coverage on Tone Radio, Universal News, and we joined some forces with the BTG's national bulletins and even Sky News. Here's some action from behind the scenes.
Here at Stroud Leisure Centre, the votes are currently being counted.
Yes, I'm here in Cheltenham where counting is well underway. It's been going on for about 2.5 hours now.
Speak to actually to me.
Okay.
Yeah, because.
Okay.
Yeah. Is that okay? Is that going to work?
How's the shot? Is it alright? Yep, it's all good.
Do you want the cameraman?
Yeah, that's all good.
Go a bit closer to the lens. That's a tip. The closer you are to the lens, the better the shot is done. Otherwise, the person looks off like two.
Oh, okay, so that's one tip then.
Yeah,
Thank you. Mark, do you want to check the shot? Mark, do you want to check the shot?
So that brings us to the end of our Parklife election special. Throughout this term, we've been predicting what life will be like for people and politics in Cheltenham 2020. We're not sure we could have ever predicted the Conservatives would take a biggest landslide victory since the 1980s, though.
Well, we'll be back with some more news from our crisis project again soon. But until then, have a happy Christmas and a peaceful New Year.
Bye.
Bye.